Hi, everyone, and welcome to this first episode of Val Talks Pets 2026. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday and the fur kids had a safe, great time. To start off this year, I'm going to tackle the topic of diabetes in dogs, symptoms, insulin, diet, and care. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Val Talks Pets, the forum for pet parents and enthusiasts alike. Having been in the pet industry for over 10 years now, I'm going to share with you issues and questions that arise as I work with pet parents on a day-to-day basis. I am not a veterinarian, but I do have certifications in canine, feline, small animal, fish and reptile, and avian health and nutrition from the University of California, Davis Extension. The reason I wanted to take on this episode is, for one, we get a lot of people talking about diabetes in their pets and are looking for alternative foods that will do relatively the same job as the food they get at the vet, but at a friendlier price point. The other reason is that my Rory has been having a fair bit of difficulty lately, and one of the things I thought he may be diagnosed with was diabetes. It turns out it isn't, but he does have significant renal issues, but I am dealing with that. But it did get me wondering about diabetes in pets. This episode, I will explore specifically diabetes in dogs. Diabetes in animals is the same pathology as in humans. The body can't properly use or produce insulin, leading to high blood sugar or glucose levels. According to petmd.com, symptoms of diabetes in dogs are increased thirst, frequent urination, weight loss, and lethargy. Diabetes in dogs can be managed, and a dog with diabetes can live a full and happy life. There are two types of diabetes. The first one is type 1. Type 1 is known as insulin dependent, just like in humans. This is the most common type to occur in dogs. As PetMD explains, in type 1 diabetes, insulin-secreting cells in the pancreas are destroyed, causing an absolute lack of insulin. This damage to the pancreatic cells can occur due to autoimmune attacks to the pancreas or severe recurrent pancreatitis. These dogs will require lifetime insulin supplementation therapy made specifically for dogs, like Vetsulin. Type 2 diabetes, known as non-insulin dependent diabetes, is like type 2 in humans. This form of diabetes is typically related to obesity, but it is very rare in dogs. In type 2 diabetes, the pancreas may produce less insulin, and the body's cells respond poorly to the insulin that is secreted. This leads to less glucose entering the cells and higher glucose in the blood. A dog that has type 1 diabetes will, as stated, be insulin dependent. The cause is most likely due to the immune system mistakenly attacking insulin-producing cells in the pancreas, leading to a total or partial loss of insulin secretion. This could be attributed to genetics, increased hormone levels, Cushing's disease. For further information on Cushing's, please access my episode dedicated to this disease. Chronic pancreatitis, obesity, and high-fat diets. The list of breeds that are predisposed to diabetes is quite interesting. Are you ready? Alaska Malamute, Australian Terrier, Bichon Frise, Cairn Terrier, Keeshond, Labrador Retriever, Miniature Schnauzer, Miniature Dachshund, Norwegian Elkhound, Poodle, Pug, Samoyed, Siberian Husky, Tibetan Terrier, and Yorkshire Terrier. I found it interesting that a few miniature breeds were on the list, but not the standards. That makes me wonder if that during the downsizing of the breed, by breeding smaller dogs to smaller dogs, something in the immune system has been compromised. Just wondering. If it is suspected that a dog may have diabetes based on increased thirst, peeing more, wanting more food, and possibly being lethargic, the vet will assess the dog but will have to do tests to determine if there are persistent high blood and urine glucose values. Once the dog is diagnosed, the proper insulin with dose will be determined. Insulin for dogs comes from the pancreas of either pigs or cows, porcine-based insulin or bovine-based insulin. Since dog and pork insulin are essentially the same molecule, porcine-based insulins like Vetsulin are typically recommended for use in diabetic dogs. Very small needles are used to inject the dog with the insulin subcutaneously, meaning under the skin, twice a day. The dog will also have to be on a specific diet, and the times for feeding and injection must be at the same times each day. The site where the dog is injected has to be moved around to prevent scar tissue from forming, which will impede the absorption of the insulin properly. Most pet parents with a diabetic dog learn how to inject the insulin. The dog's levels are then routinely monitored. When it comes to food for a diabetic dog, here are the challenges. A dog with diabetes needs to eat food high in fiber, has lean proteins, and has controlled carbohydrates, meaning lower complex carbs like peas or sweet potatoes, and moderate fat. Having said that, there are suggestions that peas and sweet potatoes should be cooked and used sparingly due to being a bit starchy. Things to avoid are foods or treats high in sugar, simple carbs like rice, bread, or pasta, and fats like bacon, fatty meats, and some dairy. In theory, it is possible to create this diet without going the vet food route. Raw, for example, has been suggested for dogs with diabetes by providing high protein, low carbs, and stabilizing blood sugar. Turkey, fish, and beef liver are good options. Chicken apparently is not. Turkey is a good one as it is high in protein but low in fat. Pro Dog Raw also suggests a few green vegetables as well, and of course, no carbohydrates. Vegetables would include those with low glycemic index like green beans, broccoli, spinach, cucumber, and carrots. In terms of treats, freeze-dried treats like Pure Bites are a good option. They are single protein, low carb, and low calorie. So there really are options for a diabetic dog that does not include getting kibble from a veterinarian office. Vet kibble can be very expensive. The ingredients as well may make you have a second thought. The diabetic food from Royal Canin, for example, has an ingredient panel that contains high protein from dehydrated poultry protein, complex carbohydrates like barley, tapioca, and wheat gluten, and added fibers from beet pulp and psyllium. Interesting that many Royal Canin products, whether from the vet or in retail, have a similar ingredient panel. In terms of tapioca, for example, WebMD.com states that tapioca starch has a high glycemic index. That means it can cause a quick spike in your insulin and blood sugar and should be eaten in moderate amounts. The idea is to feed foods that do not create glucose spikes. So I find this confusing. Wheat gluten as well is a refined carbohydrate, and it too can cause blood sugar level spikes, which can complicate diabetes management. And according to Woof Natural Pet Food, wheat is on their list as 5 ingredients to avoid in a diabetic dog food. To me, this all sounds extremely contraindicated. Years ago, I was invited to a tour of Royal Canin at their plant near Guelph, Ontario. They were incredibly generous, and the tour was a full day and evening with quite an event at the end. Not only did we get to see the distribution center, but also the manufacturing plant, and had talks by their formulators and ingredient specialists. It was very informative. However, at one point where we were in a specialty room with a food specialist, I asked why Royal Canin used brewer's rice in most of their formulas, considering that brewer's rice is the broken fragments of rice kernels left over from milling. What I wanted to know is why they were using something that in terms of nutritional value, it was quite low. And it seems to be in almost all their formulas. I didn't get an answer. The specialist skirted the question and went in another direction. I did repeat and tried to get the specific answer, but he didn't bite, and I had to let it go. I think the most important thing learned here is that when feeding a diabetic dog, it is important to really look into options and read the ingredient panels. If I were to have a dog diagnosed with diabetes and was insulin dependent, personally, I think I would go the raw food route. This way I could guarantee the protein and eliminate the carbs that are not recommended and add the greens I know are safe. As for treats, yes, there are options, but yes, they are limited. But the freeze-dried treats do come in different proteins, and some, like Benny Bullies, have variations that add some fruit or vegetables. As long as the fruit or veg is on the okay list, then you do have a viable treat. In terms of activity for a diabetic dog, there are some rules. A dog with diabetes can't just go to the dog park and run. A dog with diabetes may experience a drop in blood sugar while exercising. This is why it is very handy to have a monitor either with you or on the dog. Exercise will have to be moderate and consistent and routine. The idea is to not have any dangerous drops in blood sugar that will trigger hypoglycemia. But exercise is important to maintain proper weight and to regulate blood sugar levels. According to AllisonMedical.com, exercise promotes muscle health and strength. Strong muscles improve insulin sensitivity and glucose uptake, adding in the overall management of diabetes. AKOvet.org suggests that exercise be about 30 minutes in length per day and should be a light physical activity like walking or a bit of fetch play or a training session. Swimming has been the most recommended form of exercise for a diabetic dog as well. Swimming is a low-impact, total body aerobic exercise that helps to regulate blood sugar levels and manage weight effectively, all while protecting the joints. I would say that encouraging a diabetic dog to leap off the dock at the lake and swim back and do it again and again is probably not the best choice. But taking the dog out for a nice swim, perhaps with you, to monitor everything is a good idea. The backyard pool can provide this as well, and if that isn't an option, there are aquatic facilities for dogs that you can book time with to use their pool facilities. One thing that is extremely valuable, set out by AKOvet.org, is to carry an exercise kit. The kit will contain what you will need if your dog has a sudden drop in blood sugar. They suggest the kit contain glucose sugar in a syringe or small container, a handful of their regular food, and a blood glucose meter. As mentioned, either one attached to the dog, reading to your phone, or a separate meter. PetMD also lists the symptoms to look out for if the dog's blood sugar is dropping or has dropped. Lack of energy is one. So if you are playing and all of a sudden the dog wants to stop and possibly lie down, you need to check the levels. Vomiting and disorientation are symptoms, as well as tremors or seizures and fainting, loss of consciousness, and lapsing into a coma. Hopefully, you'll be way ahead of everything before that happens. Monitoring is going to be key. Take a level before exercise and during. The recommendations are to be consistent with the exercise, try to do it at the same time each day, and be conscious of intensity and avoid several bursts within the activity. A dog with diabetes will have some challenges, but in terms of longevity, many dogs, if well managed, live 2 to 3 years longer than the original prognosis. A dog could live several years or survive about 2 to 2.5 years. It is going to depend on the management and the breed and early detection. I think the challenge is going to be consistency. The insulin, the feeding, the exercise must be routine and the same every day. I have discussed with some pet owners with a dog with diabetes that this is the most challenging. They have expressed feeling very limited in what they can do in their own lives, as they have to be available to administer the insulin. For this reason, many said they don't go on vacation without the dog, as it is very difficult to find someone who can do all the management. I can really see how that could be a super challenge. Unless you have a person, family member, friend who can do all the things you need to do every day while away, it's just not going to happen. However, there are definitely options to take a vacation that include your pet. So access my episode on traveling with your pet to get some tips and ideas. I think the bottom line with a dog diagnosed with insulin-dependent diabetes means there are going to be a lot of compromises and lifestyle changes. As with everything, at the beginning, it is going to be a challenge. But as things become more routine and second nature, the stress will relax and day-to-day will become just what it is. I remember talking with Tammy Fox in England about her disabled dog Pumpkin. She admitted that she knew nothing about caring for a disabled dog when she took on Pumpkin. She said the first several months were chaotic. But finally, she got proper advice and direction, and look at her now. She's successfully running Pumpkin and Friends charity and is just getting better and better. I think joining some online groups with other pet parents that have dogs with diabetes could be helpful as well. Your vet is going to be your partner in this journey. So I also recommend you have a vet that you feel listens to you, explores options, and allows you to ask questions so you fully understand your role. The last thing you need is to be given a quick lesson in administering the insulin and have a bag of kibble shoved into your arms while paying a hefty bill. This is an important one, I must say. Make sure you and your vet are on the same page and you never walk away with any niggling gut red flags. Change vets if you do. I also think it is very important to do some serious research about food. As you can see from what I discussed, there are inconsistencies. Perhaps an online forum could be helpful here as well, as you will probably encounter many people who have tried a lot of approaches and have had success eventually. And don't be afraid to actually call a company that provides food for diabetes in dogs and ask to speak to their nutritionist. Ask the hard questions. That's what they're there for. And I personally would look at supplements I can add to help with the dog with diabetes. Doylestown Veterinary Hospital and Holistic Pet Care suggests fenugreek, as it has been shown to be effective in diabetes by decreasing the rate of sugar absorption in the blood. Bitter melon improves insulin production and helps to regulate blood sugar levels. Corn silk is used extensively in Chinese medicine to reduce blood glucose levels, while also preventing kidney damage due to diabetic nephropathy. Nephropathy in dogs refers to kidney disease where damaged kidneys can't filter waste effectively, leading to issues like excessive thirst, urination, weight loss, vomiting, and fatigue. Gymnema, known in Ayurvedic medicine, prevents glucose levels from spiking after a meal by lowering glucose levels, and clinical studies suggest it may be an effective herbal treatment for treating diabetes in pets, reducing blood sugar levels over time. It also increases natural insulin production from the pancreas. Though, thank you so much, Doylestown Veterinary Hospital. Also recommended is a good omega-3 fatty acid. This plays a big role in diabetes-related complications, especially with circulatory challenges. I would consult a holistic veterinarian or herbalist that is experienced with animals, however, before adding supplements or herbs. Well, I think I've covered a fair bit here. When it comes to having a dog with insulin-dependent diabetes, there are going to be challenges. But once a routine is created and alternatives to daily living are in place, there is no reason why you can't provide loving care for a diabetic dog and experience unconditional love and companionship from the dog. You will need to have a good relationship with your vet, some support from others, good research skills about food and supplements, and tenacity. That's right. Get out there and do that research. Because as I say, knowing is caring. Thank you for listening to Val Talks Pets. Please remember to follow or subscribe to ensure that you never miss an episode. To really help the show and to make it easier for others to find, please rate and review each episode that you find interesting and helpful. And don't forget that you can also email me at val@valtalkspets.com with topics you would like me to address or with any questions you may have. Also, check out my website at valtalkspets.com and let me know what you think and how we can improve upon it. Thanks for caring.